scheme. Okay. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is going to be the fire signs reading for January 25th. But of course, anytime that you find this reading, I hope it resonates with you. So let's go ahead and set the scene. To clear the space, I'm just going to light this delicious candied pumpkin candle. And go ahead and just kind of focus on the flames. Relax. You can take some deep breaths if you want. Breathe in divine light. And just kind of sigh out any tension or stress or anything that you just don't want to hold on to anymore. Just let it go. And kind of set your intention for what you would like to find out from the reading today, if there's anything in particular. Something really crazy is going on with the candle today. It's crackling a lot. That can mean that there is resistance being burned off for certain things. It can mean that, drowning my flames here. Let me just dump out that excess wax. Let's try this again. Gosh, this candle is sizzling quite a lot. That is crazy. It's very crazy. It doesn't usually happen like that. But sometimes that can mean that resistances are being burned off. So, another thing it can mean, if some of you have come here with a very direct question, like something that could be answered with a yes or no, the answer is probably yes. This can be spirit communicating with you. So I'm just going to put this off to the side for now. And we'll talk about the decks that I'm going to be using, the tools. I am going to be using the very beautiful and very mysterious Somnia Tarot. So I'm excited about that. I really love using this deck. There's a lot of really beautiful symbolism there. I'm also going to be using the Flower Magic deck. So I really love using this deck because it tells you, aside from the fact that it's a really beautiful oracle deck, it also tells you ways that you can use the different flowers in your magical practice. So I really like that. And then finally, when we go over to the members side of the channel and I do the extended reading, I will be using this quartz crystal for my scrying this week. So if that interests you, you are always invited, but any support is greatly appreciated. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So I'm going to start with the fire sign of Aries. And Aries, if you would like, go ahead, set your intention, and just let your concerns float up to the forefront of your mind. Don't worry about focusing on anything too much or fixating on problems. Just kind of take some gentle, relaxing, healing breaths. It is very difficult for me to shuffle this deck. I apologize for that. Breathe divine white light in and just sigh out and release all that tension. Okay. It is very difficult to shuffle these cards. And then I will take the Flower Magic cards. And pull one of these for you as well, Aries. Yeah, this one. Ah, yes. Saxifrage. Separation. So let me see, Aries, what the book has to say about this particular card. So this is about breaking bad cycles. This could be cord cutting. It's easy to get into a bad cycle, find yourself in a relationship that's not doing you any good. Sometimes you don't even notice until you're very deep into the situation, right? So we're certainly not trying to victim blame anyone here. Anyone can end up in a situation that ends up not being right for them, right? Sometimes situations start off really great, and then over time, things change. We all evolve. Some people devolve. And that's just the truth of the matter. So separate yourself from that person or situation. Put a wide space between you. It is up to you as to whether you make an initial wedge and slowly widen the gap, or go for broke and pull the sticking plaster, that's a Band-Aid, off in one fell swoop. So if you wanted to use saxifrage, this is what it looks like. It's a very beautiful little red flower, right? It's a plant of the moon, so it can be used in any kind of moon magic, any kind of cyclical magic like that, right? It's best for breaking bad habits and destructive patterns. It can also be used in protective spells. Grow the plant on your front garden wall or in the cracks of your pathway paving for protection. It grows in a chaotic and haphazard manner, so it can also be used in spells for abundance. But also remember that if you're allowing abundance into your life, oh, thank you, Cool Hand Drew. It's good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. If you're allowing wealth into your life in a chaotic way, always make sure that it's to the harm of none. So, write down my timestamp, and then we'll get into the reading. Here in the past, Aries, we have the Star card showing up in the reverse. Now, this could have been a period of time where a lot of your hopes and dreams ended up coming true. I really like how my filter makes it look like Aurora Borealis up here in the sky. This figure is very solitary. They've hiked all the way up this hill. Look at all they've achieved here. And yet they stand alone. Oftentimes, when we are put on a pedestal, we do end up feeling quite isolated. But I do feel like overall this is a good card, and it means that at some point in the past, you did achieve your goals, Aries. Perhaps even became famous, or went viral, as the kids say, right? Aries, in your current situation, we have the Six of Wands. And this is a card of victory. Look at the similarities between these two cards, right? So, almost as though this is the back view and this is a much closer view. Now, obviously, that's not quite the case, but you can see the stance is very similar. The attitude is very similar. And the meaning is quite similar as well. Six of Wands is a card of victory. It's about resting on your laurels as well, resting on the cushion of your achievements. This is crossed by the King of Cups. So you could be a very sorry about that. I'm just having to mod myself. You could be a very nurturing person, and there could be people who are reliant on you for support. As a matter of fact, the King of Cups is a provider. So you could have gotten to a point, Aries, where you're able to provide for others because of your success. The King of Cups, in other contexts, so the flip side of that for you is that you could have someone who is a benefactor to you, who has helped all of these wonderful things come into your life. Both of those things are possibilities. This is a general reading, so I will let you figure out how it applies to you. Down here in the Imam Silai, so the Imam Silai is kind of like down here when you're looking at the astrological wheel, right? It's by the third and fourth houses. So I kind of read uh, my Celtic cross spread as though the 12 houses are superimposed upon it. So down here in the Imam Sili, we have the Five of Wands reversed. And this is going to be what sparks off all of the actions that then lead to what we see in the midheaven. And we see this person is trying to put out this candelabra with the bellows. So where we see the Five of Wands reversed like this, I always think of this as like crab in a bucket mentality, that a lot of people are competing for a handful of positions or opportunities. But what you see is that rather than everyone trying to help each other along, which is kind of like more like the Five of Wands in the upright, where you see the Five of Wands reversed, that this rivalry leads to ridiculous infighting. Everybody ends up being held back on account of that. So, how you respond to this Aries is going to dictate what ends up coming for you in the future. And let's look a little bit at your own personal motivations in this area. We have the Three of Coins, the Three of Pentacles reversed. So this card is all about work collaborations and your professional reputation. Because, of course, anytime you work with other people, that is where you have the potential to improve your professional reputation. But in this case, I can see that you feel like this situation here with the Five of Wands has possibly damaged your working relationships or your professional reputation. How about here from the outside perspective? We see the King of Swords, and he's showing up reversed. So the King of Swords in the upright is very much about discernment in grayscale, whereas the Knight of Swords is about black and white discernment. This is right, this is wrong. There's no in between. But where we have the King of Swords in the reverse, sometimes you could read this a little bit like the Justice card in the reverse, in that there are injustices being committed. This can also be somebody who is following the letter of the law, manipulating people through legal contracts, things like that. So the Queen of Swords manipulates people in situational ways and perhaps obfuscates the truth when she's in the reverse like this. When the King of Swords is in the reverse like this, people could see that perhaps you signed a bad contract or that people are taking advantage of you. The King of Swords could also be an air sign person who's taking advantage of you. Or doesn't have to be an air sign, but it's air sign energy. Here in the future, we have another sword card, which is the Three of Swords, and it's in the reverse. So when we see cards in the reverse and they're in future positions, that means that the potential exists. And here we're looking at the potential for argument, strife, and heartbreak. So it's important, Aries, to be able to see this coming, right? And especially where we're looking at this context. We're looking at this Five of Wands in the reverse. You probably didn't go into this situation thinking that you were walking into a powder keg with a match lit in your hand, right? A lot of times we see these competitive situations as being desirable. Perhaps the pay is better. Perhaps we feel like it's an opportunity for wonderful professional growth. And remember this other 3 that we have coming out in the reverse, where your perspective on this was that this was a good opportunity for you to improve your professional relationships. And you feel now like that has turned out to not be the case. So now in the future, where we're looking at the potential for arguments and strife, this is going to be an opportunity for you, Aries, to make decisions, to carry yourself away from that. Carry yourself away from that. Here in the hopes and fears, we do have the Devil card in the reverse. So, for some of you, and I certainly wouldn't wish this on anyone, there might actually be HR violations going on in this workplace. The Devil has control over these people, but you can see the ropes are kind of cumbersome. They might be a little tricky to get disentangled from, but it's not entirely impossible. If these 2 figures wanted to, they could easily cast off all of this rope and escape from this person's grasp. After all, he's got his whole self covered. Talk about cumbersome, right? He is just as entangled in this mess as they are, but he's the one who is in control of the situation. And Aries, because this is showing up reversed in your hopes and fears, I feel like you're afraid of a lack of control. And that is a very Aries, sun or rising thing to be feeling. Rather, I should say that's a very Aries trait. So you would look at Aries, sun, rising, even an Aries, Mars, or an Aries, Jupiter in Aries. This 9 of Swords in the reverse is coming out in the midheaven position. So this has to do with your destiny. And remember, this is a direct result of this 5 of Wands that we see down here in the MMC lie. So that situation has the potential to lead you into this anxiety, stress. The 9 of Swords is very much about the headspace, though. It's not necessarily about peril. This person is, relatively safe in their own bed, except for all of these threatening daggers dangling above, right? But these are all kind of in your mind. But remember, too, that we have this 3 of Swords in the future. And if you don't take care of it at this point, where we have the future, the final outcome, the midheaven, right? So the future is going to be the closest option to you, chronologically speaking. If you don't take care of this situation now, Aries, it's only going to multiply and cause you more stress. But look, I promise you, this is not a bad reading, okay, Aries? Because look, first of all, I think that you have much more control over this situation than you might be allowing yourself to believe. And second of all, your final outcome is the sun. And this card is showing up in the upright, which means that you will have a successful outcome. So all of these future potentials, you eventually will successfully navigate, because the Sun card is in the upright. I take the things in the upright now, of course. Disclaimer: tarot is for your entertainment. It's just here to guide you and help you see the totality of situations in your life. But I always take the cards in the upright to be much more predestined, whereas the cards that are reversed, those are potential energies that are available for you to tap into, or in this case, to try to avoid. Let's come back here and revisit this card, because I didn't really mention it throughout the reading. Don't forget, we started out with the idea of separation. And in fact, she has a sword too. So in some ways, this is a bit like the Ace of Swords. So perhaps if you have that Ace of Swords, there's no need for this. And in my opinion, there's never any need for this. So, Aries, I think you know how to proceed. And don't surrender your power. I don't think you'll need to. This King of Swords in the reverse often does do a very good job of making people feel powerless. Oh, hi, countries of the world. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming by. But you have the ultimate control in your own life and destiny. So that concludes the Aries reading for this week. And I'm going to turn these cards over. And then we're going to move on to the Leo reading. And I'm going to shuffle these cards. They're a little bit stiff, so bear with me. But the first reading is always the hardest to shuffle, because I have the full stack of cards in my hand. Once I've dealt out about 10 or so of the cards, it becomes much easier to shuffle. Countries of the world. Yes, I do. I watch a lot of ASMR. And I am always finding new creators that I enjoy watching. I really like the when they pretend to do your eyebrows and eyelashes. And sometimes I like the pretend plastic surgery videos also. I used to be really into the Reiki videos. So like around the time that I started this channel, one of my inspirations was, of course, the Reiki ASMR community here on YouTube. Thank you for asking. And I'm going to pull one of these flower magic oracle cards. somebody came to this video because they are looking for a yes or no answer. The answer is yes. I'm getting a few channeled messages this time. Something about clearing blockages too. That blocks are being cleared for you. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. So the Flower Magic Oracle card that I have for you, Leo, is Marigold. It has to do with your energy. So let's find out a little bit more about this card. So, are your reserves running low? Do you need a boost? Or do you feel too frenetic and out of control with your energy? So, energy imbalance can go both ways. You may even be experiencing both flips of the energy coin. 1 minute you're full of energy, and then you kind of tucker yourself out, feel like somebody pulled the plug. Having these extremes is very difficult to cope with. It makes it very difficult for you to be effective. So take stock and examine what's going on. Grab hold of your intuition and kind of find some ways to balance your energy. Use the force of nature or the universe to get some answers. Find a quiet spot and give yourself at least a few minutes to relax, breathe, and tap into life itself. And some ways that you can use marigold in your magical workings. It's useful in any spell or incense blend for psychic powers. Put marigold flowers under your bed to ensure a good sleep and invite in prophetic dreams. Place these flowers around your house and hang them over doorways for protection and positive energy. With its bright, cheerful colors and the energy of the sun, marigold is a good herb for happiness and uplifting workings. So it is about uplifting, it's about protection somewhat, but also psychic abilities and achieving balance with one's energies. Oh, let me write down the timestamp. Sorry, my chicken is loud today. All right, Leo, let's start in the past for you. We have the moon card, and it's in the upright. So the moon card represents a very dark and unclear path. In this particular deck, the ladders represent movement between two planes of spiritual existence. And you can see here on this card that the moon is out, but it's pretty light up here. It's darker down here. This person has been in the water. They could be very cold. They're definitely very wet. And they are seeking. They're seeking this spiritual enlightenment. Now, it appears as though there's nothing at the top of this ladder, right? But that's not necessarily what this means. There could very well be something at the top of this ladder, but it's something that we cannot perceive with our physical vision. And this person might just be climbing this ladder out of trust that when they reach the top, that portal will open up and they will find themselves later in the deck coming out of the Ace of Wands. That's a possibility. I don't have the Ace of Wands here, but I remember what it looks like, so that's why I said that. So this card is in the upright. You could be navigating a very unclear time in your life, Leo. And this could have started not too long ago. You could have been going through this for a while, but because the card is upright, it looks like you are going through it still. Let's see what we have here in the current situation. We do have the Nine of Coins. So this is a card about financial stability and independence. She feels secure enough that she doesn't have to watch her coins. She can stand here and relax and take a deep breath and enjoy the beautiful scenery because she doesn't have to be focused on this. She knows that when she turns around, that what she needs will still be there. This is crossed by the Seven of Cups. This is a card of opportunities, but not every opportunity that you find is going to be a good one. I do talk about my dreams occasionally in my videos, and a dream that I had last night. I had asked before I went to bed, I said, I need a little bit of guidance to make sure that I'm heading in the right direction. And the gist of the dream, without going into too many details, was that I need to be focusing more on getting paid for work that I'm already doing. So whatever it takes to increase my income through means that I'm already kind of taking part in creative endeavors and other things like that. And so some of these options, obviously we've got coins right here, so that checks that off. This bucket's leaking, so you're losing resources if you're focusing on this endeavor, right? And that might be true for a few people. I mostly gave it as a personal example, but as this is a general reading, there could be all kinds of criteria that you need to consider when you're looking at what choices are going to be right for you. If this is somebody who needs to be dry, the fact that this bucket is leaking might eventually end up being a good thing for them. Down here in the Imam Silai, so the Imam Silai is in opposition to the midheaven, which is the destiny position. We'll look at it up here in a little while. And the Imam Silai represents all of the factors that are in our current existence that will be affecting the midheaven or destiny. So what we have down here is the Queen of Wands, and she's showing up in the upright. As this is a fire sign reading, Leo, I'm going to take this to be you. The Queen of Wands being very charming, very sociable, associated with fire sign energy, also associated with water. So queens are water, wands are fire. So this would be a fire tempered by water. And that you are able to charm the pants off of anyone that you meet. Now, whether you choose to do that or not, that's up to you. But it does put you in a very good position. And I can see that you are not coming from a place of scarcity. From your perspective, we have the 5 of coins in the reverse. So you can see, I'd rather drink muddy water and sleep in a hollow log than to be in Atlanta treated like a dirty dog. Talking about my personal experiences again, I guess. But actually, where we find this card in the reverse, it means that you're leaving these situations of lack behind. Remember, I just said that you're coming from a place of abundance now. So you're leaving behind this lack mentality. But it's still kind of in the back of your mind somewhere. Like, what if I ended up down and out? What if I ended up in need of people's help? Is that still a possibility for me at this time? An outside perspective, people are spying on you. People are watching you that you don't really realize people have their eyes on you. That's what we get from this Page of Swords. Especially in this position, that this is an outsider's position looking into your life. And where we see the Page of Swords in the reverse, this is other people watching you. When we see the Page of Swords in the upright, this could be you on a fact-finding mission. You can see that this figure is holding a spyglass or a telescope, that they're able to see very long distances without being observed themselves. But this could end up being a good thing, that people are able to observe you from afar, and might be considering you for different opportunities that you don't even realize that's going on yet. Here in the future position, Leo, we have your card coming out, the Strength card. Now, it is coming out in the reverse, but do remember that when cards come out reversed in future positions, this is a potential energy, the potential for persuasion. So the Strength card doesn't just mean physical strength, although she is grappling with this bear trap on this card. Sometimes what the Strength card looks like is the power of persuasion that we see here with the Queen of Wands. The gift of gab, being able to use your Jedi mind tricks on people. I'm still kind of practicing my Jedi mind tricks. The Strength card is somewhat like the Magician, in fact, in that the Strength card is the application and mastery of manifestation technique. Here in your hopes and fears, we have the 6 of coins, and it's showing up in the upright. You hope to be able to be a benefactor, possibly a philanthropist, to be able to share with others what you have earned, being able to spread the wealth around. This is the flow of the ebb and flow of our finances, right? So you want to be able to share with others, have enough that you can give back. this is the midheaven. So this is going to be the destiny. It's going to be the result of this Queen of Wands here. And remember, the Queen of Wands is tempered by her water energy, being a queen, that kind of passive, still waters run deep energy, right? But what we have here in the midheaven harkens back to what we see with our flower magic oracle card, right? The Knight of Wands is fire of fire energy. This is a big burst of elemental fire, multiplied exponentially. And remember that when we were discerning the meaning of this card, it has a lot to do not just with your energy levels, but being able to maintain steadily your energies, not letting everything bubble up so much and then crashing. So, with this Knight of Wands energy, which is going to be a result of being so charming and opening up so many opportunities, right? You could be in great demand coming up soon. Now, this card is showing up in the upright. So remember what I said about cards that show up in the upright. I consider these future energies to be a bit more fixed on the timeline than how a reversed card is showing you a potential for something that may or may not pan out. But of course, nothing that I tell you in a tarot reading is going to supersede the importance of your free will. And your final outcome, Leo. I have been getting this card. I try to do a reading for myself every day. I do a geomancy spread for myself. And I do a Celtic Cross tarot reading for myself in the mornings. And I've actually been getting this card, both upright and reversed, in the final outcome position quite a lot. The Four of Wands here is the opportunity for success. It is a happily ever after, and you know that there's going to be a sequel. So it's a reason for celebration. It can be a marriage, but it can also be some other kind of accomplishment. So because that card is in the reverse, it may have a great deal to do with how you navigate this situation, where we were looking at the strength, the persuasion, the artistry of speech and persuasion. Jedi mind tricks, if you will. So, Leo, that concludes your reading for this week. And now I'm going to turn these cards over and we will move on to the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius. And Sagittarius, if you would for me, just take some nice deep breaths. Breathe in the divine white light of Source and sigh out any stress, any tension, anything that's no longer serving you. And I'm just going to shuffle the cards. They do get easier and easier to shuffle the more of them I've dealt off. go. Hopefully all those sirens aren't headed directly to this address. And then I'm going to... Hold on just a moment. It's a little bit tricky to deal with these candles. So, my wicks have been drowning a lot today. And you can see the candle there. It's getting kind of sooty. That could mean perhaps for me, perhaps for somebody else out there. It looks like they put kind of a weird core in this candle. I'm not sure what that's about. But it could be energies that need to be burned off. So, something to keep in mind. All right, now I'm going to pull for you one of these Flower Magic Oracle cards. This is the one for sure. Okay. Oh, interesting. I think this one came out yesterday, but I don't remember which sign. So, Sagittarius, the card that you get today is Foxglove, which is poison. Now, another thing about Foxglove is that in much smaller pharmaceutically regulated doses, the compound digitalis, which comes from foxglove, is used in heart medication. So is used to a curative effect in very small doses, but in much larger doses is poisonous. So that keeping in mind that sometimes things can be taken in very small doses for therapeutic effect, but it's important to keep that tightly regulated. And let's find out a little bit more about this card. So they also mention in this deck poison in the form of gossip and rumors. Keep an ear out for what is going on around you and bring in your protection. Words can be pleasant, encouraging, uplifting, and all kinds of lovely, but they can also be loaded with poison. Sticks and stones may not break your bones, but words can really hurt you. And sometimes people set out to be hurtful on purpose. So, the Foxglove card also talks about the Fae and how interacting with them can be fraught with all kinds of difficulties. So be very careful with fairies. They must be treated with respect and caution. If you want to use foxglove in your magic, bees love these flowers, so they will attract bees to your garden and will also bring protection. Foxglove also works very well in keeping away the poison that comes with rumor and tittle-tattle by keeping it contained. Okay, Sagittarius. So let's start here in the past. We have the Wheel of Fortune card, and this card has come out in the upright. So this could be that fortune has recently turned in your favor. Not only that, but the effects of this change of fortune, because the card is upright and it's in the past, are carrying forward into the present. Let me write down my timestamps. There we go. What about the current situation? We have a couple of sequential wands. Now, I do assure you that I've shuffled these cards quite a bit. So these cards are coming out next to each other quite organically. They have both come out separately in readings that I did prior. We have the Seven of Wands. So you have achieved some position in your life where you're at a high vantage point, and others are desirous of what you have. That's what we're looking at with the Seven of Wands here. It could even be that some of them are trying to speak ill against you. So watch out for that. This is crossed by the Eight of Wands. So we see this chandelier swinging ever closer like a pendulum. The Eight of Wands is a swift ending with closure. It is typically not a painful ending like you would see with the Ten of Swords or the Tower card. But there's a finality to this. So it could be at this time you have elevated so far above those around you that there really is no danger of you being dragged back down by their gossip and idle chatter. So now we're going to look at the MMCLI. I read my Celtic Cross spread kind of like there's a 12 houses chart laid out on top. So down at the bottom of the spread is the MMCLI, which would be kind of the cusp of the third and fourth houses. And what you're looking at in the MMCLI is all of the factors in the current environment that are going to be leading directly to what occurs in the midheaven or destiny, which is in opposition, the top of the chart. So what we have down here in the MMCLI is the Two of Cups. This is a card of close emotional bonding to another person. So it can be a card of love and romance. It can be a card of marriage or deep commitment. This can also be a card of very close and dear friendship, especially a friendship in which you are also working on opportunities for growth together. From your perspective, we have the Two of Wands. This is a card having to do with foresight, planning. This is you making your vision board. We have the one candle up here. In the wands suit in this deck, the candles are the wands. So we have the one up here illuminating the space, and then holding this candle out to see what is beyond. This is really more of a symbolic gesture. Obviously, the luminary body up here, whether that's the sun or moon, you can't really tell. Whichever that is providing much more light than you could ever hope to with this candle, but it does symbolize looking forward. So you currently are looking forward in your life. And this could be because you are part of a couple or in a relationship that perhaps the two of you together are doing a lot of planning. From an outside perspective, we have the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords here, people might see you as having very polarizing opinions. But they do see you as a champion for causes. The Knight of Swords also kind of wields that sword very directly. The situation's right for me, the situation is not. We're not navigating gray area at this time. And you might have really needed to come to that if you were dealing with this Seven of Wands energy and with people trying to poison situations for you. You might have had to set up some very clear rules and regulations in your life that it doesn't matter what your motivations are, why you did a certain thing. I just really can't be bothered with anything that's below this threshold. Here in the future, we have the World card, which in this deck, you see the bed behind her, that with completion comes rest. We do see the earth caked onto the hem of her dress, associating her with the element of earth. She is within this ring, showing the cyclical nature of completion and rebirth. And she is hiding her face behind this book. Because this card is in the reverse, we already know that completion is occurring, right? We've got this Eight of Wands here. But as far as your closure, as far as your completion of projects, things to that effect, the potential is here with the World card in reverse. But it's going to be up to you to carry out the execution. Here in the hopes and fears, we have the Eight of Cups, and it's showing up in the upright. So typically on the Six of Swords is where we see the boat, and that means departure. But here on the Eight of Cups, we're seeing the boat as a symbol of departure. This figure has turned their back on these 8 barrels that are stacked here on the dock, leaving them behind. You could be hoping to move somewhere. You could be hoping to leave a certain situation. It's very interesting that this very action-oriented card is showing up in such a hypothetical position, right? Because your hopes and fears, you have a lot of control over what goes on regarding your movements. So this could be, of course, we do have the Two of Wands diagonal, right? So you could be in the planning process now of wanting to move somewhere. But of course, this would be a situation where that action would be very much up to you and not very hypothetical at all. Here in the midheaven, so this is going to be the result of the actions that are taken down here. Some of you might be wanting to move to be closer to a romantic partner. And if that is the case, I would really, really caution you about not listening too much to hearsay. Long distance relationships can be very troublesome, very fraught with all kinds of notions because you're not really seeing that person on a day to day basis. You might be talking to them all the time, but it's very different from being right there with them. So, for some of you, this could be about a long distance relationship. For some of you, it could be about a friendship in which there is also some kind of business partnership involved, and you're doing advanced planning for this, and uh, and they kind of see you as being very cut and dry, one way or the other. Um, and you might be wanting to move. But what I have coming out here in the midheaven, which is in opposition to this Two of Cups, is the Five of Cups, and it is in the upright. The Five of Cups has to do with our disappointments. So you can see that a couple of these barrels have overturned and their contents have spilled out. We do still have three that are upright, and this figure does have their back to us. And they are shielded from the rain with this umbrella. Some of the figures in the cups have this umbrella. The Knight of Cups has an umbrella also. And it kind of, that black umbrella is kind of a symbol of one's emotional states. So this card is much more about your emotional states regarding certain issues than it is about the outcome. But even if there's only one other person in the situation, be so careful about those who would try to poison your happiness, Sagittarius. Our partners can be jealous of our successes too. And obviously, that's not something that most healthy people want for each other, but these are baser emotions that sometimes you just don't have much control over. So, the final outcome that I have for your reading today, Sagittarius, is the Ten of Swords, and it's showing up in the reverse. There is the potential here for an ending. So, when the Ten of Swords shows up, to me, that says that the ending is somewhat inevitable. But if it is in the reverse, the potential is there for it to not be as painful. That it's really going to depend on your attitudes regarding some certain things. Because to be fully honest with you, sometimes the Ten of Swords also looks like the World card. That because a cycle has completed, that that an ending comes, and there are things that you're going to have to leave behind, and that's very painful. And I certainly don't mean to diminish that, but you have to understand that it is a side effect of your growth and your progress. Okay, so thank you so much to all of the fire signs and all of you who joined me here today for the fire sign live stream tarot readings. Thank you, 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 thank you. I hope that you have an excellent day ahead of you. I will be going over to the members side of the channel now and doing the crystal scrying. But I look forward to seeing all of you again very, very soon.